So we've started the recording. So I want to say good evening to everyone from the Michigan District of Kiwanis. This is Sue Petrisin, and I want to welcome you to our Thursday night Kiwanis Let's Talk. We do this session every Thursday night, and we have been going more than a year. We started about, I believe, March or April in 2020 when the pandemic hit, and we've been going ever since then. If you are interested in seeing any of our other programs, you're welcome to go to the Michigan District of Kiwanis YouTube site, and everything that we have held is on that site. If you just go to that site, everything that's there. That includes our Kiwanis Let's Chat sessions, or the Kiwanis Let's Talk session, this one. We do new member onboarding in the first Saturday of every month. And then we do the third Saturday of every month, we do a Kiwanis Cafe. So we put everything up recorded there. For those of you that were able to join us last week, we hosted the Kiwanis International Trustee Candidates, and that video has already been posted as well. That was posted last weekend if you want to go back and take a look at that. And we typically make the announcement on our Facebook page or on make it on my page, and it gets shared a bit. So they're out there. If you ever have questions or need any assistance, feel free to email me or Facebook message me. So I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. I want to thank Linda Lother, who's here with us. She is going to be my timer to start out with. I will let you know that Paul Palazzolo will be joining us a little bit later. He's coming from another meeting, so we're going to start the meeting. He's going to join us at that time. I would like to ask everyone to mute themselves and keep themselves muted throughout the program so that we don't have any background noise. You may find that it's easier for you as well to shut your video off because of the number of people that are on the call tonight. Sometimes the bandwidth is a little bit better if you do that. So Linda will be giving us our timing tonight, a 30-second reminder of how many minutes you have left. We will start out this morning with I'll have all the candidates will have 3 minutes to introduce themselves at the beginning of the program. For those of you that may have participated in the past, we are not using a holding room this year or a green room. We are going to leave everybody on the screen at this time, and then we will rotate the questions throughout the program. Everybody will have a 3-minute introduction, 2 minutes to answer each question, and then at the end, a 1-minute closing remarks. We expect this program is going to take a little longer because there are 5 candidates, and we want to make sure that we get through more than just 1 question or 2 questions. We will, of course, record this and put it up. Are there any questions that you may have and you're interested in, please feel free to put them in the chat. If time allows us, we will ask those questions at that point. So with that, Linda, are you ready? Linda's ready to go. Okay, we will start with our first introduction, and that will be by Katrina Barenko. Katrina.
Thank you. Thank you, Sue, and thank you, Michigan District. It is so great to see everyone, even if it is virtually, but I'm hoping I will see many of you in a couple of weeks in Salt Lake City. I thought I would share a little bit of my personal background. I live in Albany, Georgia, way south of Atlanta with my husband, David. I have a son, a daughter-in-law, and 1 grandson who is my heart. I grew up in a small town. My family owned a business, so they were very involved in the community. So I guess from the get-go, I was raised that you give back and support the community that you live in. I earned my bachelor's degree from the University of Georgia, go Dogs, and my master's from Georgia State, both in business education. So I started my career as a high school teacher, and I served as FBLA advisor, Future Business Leaders of America. And that's where I first saw the impact of what youth organizations did for students. I watched my students not only learn leadership skills, but I watched their confidence grow. I was fortunate enough to be appointed as CKI International Board Counselor, and I will tell you, they will keep you young and they will keep you in the know. I've been in business for 25 years, and I have experienced the same challenges that we face in Kiwanis. I've been a Kiwanian for 28 years. I've worked extensively in membership, strengthening and opening new clubs in my district, and as well as many other districts. Membership is my passion, but I know equally important is service, leadership, and education. I have served as Vice Chair of the Audit and Finance Committee, and I'm currently Chair of the Leadership Development and Education Committee. And I will tell you, to watch the volunteers develop and implement the Amplify program has been amazing. And right now we have over 700 participants in that program. I've been a CLE trainer for over 10 years, and I've watched that component of education and how important it is to our members. I have a wide range of experience and knowledge in Kiwanis, and that will benefit me in my role as Vice President. Thank you.
Thank you, Katrina. Next up will be George Delisle.
Thank you very much, Sue. Hi, if those of you who don't know me, my name is George Delisle. I'm a member of the Westfield, Massachusetts Kiwanis Club, and at least 3 other Kiwanis clubs at my last count. I've been a member of Kiwanis since 1979. I've been the president of a couple of clubs. I'm currently a club secretary. I've held virtually every elected office there is to hold in the New England and Bermuda district. I served as treasurer, district secretary, governor, lieutenant governor a couple of times. I've chaired many, many committees. As you can tell from what I'm telling you, I'm very, very committed to this organization and to its well-being and to its welfare. I've opened Kiwanis clubs. I've served as membership chair on a couple of my clubs and continue to do so. I've worked on large-scale membership new club builds, one in the Detroit area a couple of years ago, as a matter of fact. And the reason I'm running for Kiwanis International Vice President is because I feel as though my years of experience as a Kiwanian, and also my professional experience as a professional journalist, and also as a professional IT manager, really give me a good toolkit, something to bring to the table to my service as a Kiwanis International trustee, and with luck, as a Kiwanis International Vice President and an officer going forward. I believe wholeheartedly in the mission of this organization. I believe wholeheartedly in our clubs, and I believe wholeheartedly in our members. And I think that the role of Kiwanis International's top level should be, and is really, to provide support and leadership and guidance to help our clubs do what they already do so well. Our clubs are better than anyone else at identifying and providing for the needs of their own communities. So if we approach Kiwanis with that point of view, that clubs and members come first, and we provide the right sort of guidance, the right sort of materials, the right sort of resources to help the clubs do what they're already doing, I think that's the right road for us to be on. And that's the platform that I'm running on this year. I hope that you will agree that that's the way we should go. I've always felt that way. And I look forward to a continued role with Kiwanis International and helping our clubs to grow and learn and develop as we grow this organization to be what it already is, the greatest service organization in the world. Thank you.
Thank you, George. Next alphabetically will be Chuck.
Good day, Kiwanians. I am Chuck Galitza from the Florida District of Kiwanis, having served as governor in 2014-15, as a trustee in 2017-20, and now your candidate for Kiwanis International Vice President. Thank you to the Michigan District for the invitation to speak here today. Kids truly need Kiwanis. There is a diverse mix of ages, genders, occupations, backgrounds, and interests that have come together to make the world a better place and where children can thrive. Whether we are working on our own many service projects to meet the needs of our local town or putting fun into fundraising, we are always building a community of service that will have a lasting impact as we support our leaders of tomorrow. Those leaders, of course, are our SLPs, our service leadership programs, which will be our immediate priorities as we continue to come out of the pandemic. Amelia, who I must give tons of credit as she keeps me grounded and going, and I have worked together in strengthening existing clubs, opening new clubs, and being there to just simply advise clubs and members that need our help. We need to become more engaged with our youth leaders so that when their time to give back to their community, they not only think, but they know Kiwanis. How has the world changed? We in the US may be coming out of the pandemic, but what about other parts of the world? What about Africa, especially in Uganda, where it's been reported of a 25% spike in COVID cases? I think often of my Kiwanis Club in Wakiso, Uganda, that I'm a charter member of, and how we can further help them. I am here tonight because I love Kiwanis and want to help make our dreams come true. That is why I want to be your next vice president. It is important in deciding about our next leaders to continue making Kiwanis grow not only in quantity, but also in quality members. As governor, I was out of our home for 210 nights somewhere within the district doing the work of Kiwanis. I'm aware and am ready for the hard work that is required, but at the same time, having a clear mind of judgment, devotion to others, perseverance, imagination, and the belief that it's more important to listen than to speak. My priority is to you, our member, who is here listening right now. You are the active member in Kiwanis, who gives not only your financial help, but of your time and your heart, because you are the backbone of Kiwanis. And without you, we would not exist. And that is why we must take care of ourselves and take care of the organization that we love and care for. It is also important to be fiscally sound, and I can assure that I will always vote what is in the best interest of the club and you. My extensive international experience and professional capacity throughout the world characterizes me as a leader that has a true understanding of this and our organization. Nothing is impossible if we work together as one. Thank you for allowing me the time, and thank you for all that you all do for the kids of our world. Thank you.
Thank you, Chuck. Next on our agenda is Richard Olmsted.
Well, hello, Kiwanis members from the Michigan District and from around the world. Thank you, President Sue, for providing the time to hear from the Kiwanis International Vice President candidates. And my thanks to each member attending tonight's session. Thank you for your time and for the service you provide to your communities. I am Richard Olmsted. I am humbled to be a candidate for Kiwanis International Vice President. My home club is Palmdale West of the California, Nevada, Hawaii District. I am a second-generation Kiwanian. My father sponsored me into the Cheyenne, Wyoming Club on May 28, 1980. Cheryl and I have 3 adult children and 7 grandchildren. They live across the U.S. in Texas, Florida, and Vermont. S-O-A-R. What is Kiwanis? Kiwanis is service to others through the altruism of our members while forming enduring relationships. S-O-A-R, service, others, altruism, relationships. My vision for Kiwanis is one of consistent and sustainable growth. And I believe we will attain that growth through serving our communities. We cannot perform service without members or without clubs. If your community has a need that is not being met, your club needs to grow. If the neighboring community has unmet needs, they need a Kiwanis club. Service to others with no expectation of anything in return is altruism. And along the way, we form lasting relationships, both within our communities and within our clubs. My view of membership on the Kiwanis International Board is that the main consideration for any item we discuss is how will this benefit our members? At the international level, this can be a complex question, and maybe not all will agree with the decision made. But I will always keep the member in the forefront of the conversation. When asked, what are you going to do to stop our membership decline? Or what is your plan to get more SLP members to join Kiwanis? My response is, what are we going to do? I will ensure resources are available from both KI and the districts. We must all do our part. We must all carry a part of the load. We must all stop waiting for the other person to do it and take personal responsibility for our organization. Your governor is your vote. Please let your district governor know your choice for the next Kiwanis International Vice President. Let us soar to greater heights of service. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Richard. And our final candidate for this evening is Barbara Thompson.
Thank you, Past President Sue, and the entire Michigan District for sponsoring this forum. I got muted. Said the host muted. Okay, I'm honored to get to speak with you this evening. First, my personal background. I grew up on a dairy farm and now live in a suburb of St. Louis, Missouri with my husband, Charlie, also a Kiwanian. We are very proud parents of 2 adult children, both of whom are attorneys. Professionally, I'm an educator. I was a high school teacher and served in a variety of other roles before becoming assistant superintendent of a large school district and serving as an adjunct professor. The reason I joined Kiwanis is that our superintendent came into our leadership team meeting and told us that we were all going to join a civic organization. And right after that, a gentleman came up to me after a meeting and said, you seem to like children. I want to invite you to a Kiwanis meeting. I've been a member ever since. Having been a high school teacher, I saw the power of Key Club and all the service leadership programs. I became more and more engaged in service, servant leadership, fellowship, and fun, inviting others into Kiwanis. Then I had the opportunity to participate on club opening teams, often with many of you, including 3 in Michigan. That's how I learned about opening clubs. I now have opened well over 50 clubs and have recruited hundreds of members. I appreciate all of you, all that you have done, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart for all that I have learned from you. Fast forward to 2021. Who could have imagined that we'd be living our lives on Zoom in a global pandemic? We don't know yet what our membership will be when we come out of the pandemic, or how our clubs, what shape they will be in. So that takes me back to my childhood. When I was a child on the dairy farm, my father often said to me, Barbara, go get the cows. Later, as an adult, I was at a conference on leading through change, and the facilitator said that she had learned how to move cattle from one field to another from a tribal chief. And he told her 3 things: walk with them, don't scare them, make sure the gate is open. And I thought for a minute, I realized that that was a metaphor for leading through change. And that was what I had learned to do with our beloved cows. So I would like to have the opportunity to work with districts on gaining back our members and leading through change as Kiwanis International Vice President. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. And it was my apologies. I hit the mute button because someone came in and their name was right above yours and I was trying to mute them instead. My apologies.
That's okay.
Okay, with that, I am very excited to welcome this evening with us past President Paul Palazzolo. Paul was president in 2010, 2011, and he has just returned for an event where he was celebrating his 39th birthday. So we may sing happy birthday to Paul at the end of the session, depending on how we're all doing. But Paul, I'm going to turn over the questioning to you. Linda will continue to help monitor the timing as well as I will. So Paul.
Thanks, past President Sue. And the 39th birthday is a bit of a call out to Jack Benny. That's the 16th anniversary of my 39th birthday. So it's a bit of a fun thing that we did tonight. So, and it's a pleasure to help with this forum, and especially these candidates who are putting themselves forward too. And let's be thoughtful and forward-looking. The vote for vice president will lead to serving as international president-elect, and then eventually as international president. So indeed, we're looking at selecting a future international president here tonight. And if I just could provide some context onto some of the questions I'm going to ask and how it applies to the role of international president, is I believe there's 3 aspects to the role of international president. First aspect is the board table vision, leading the trustees at board meetings and at opportunities throughout the year in Indianapolis, working with policies and setting the tone for the organization during that particular fiscal year. I'd say to the role of international president, that's about 20%. 10% of the role of international president, the second thing is a bit of an ambassadorship presence, serving as the main face and voice of Kiwanis International for that particular fiscal year. It's that ambassador presence of the role of international president is designed to supplement the third aspect of serving in the role, which I believe is that's 70%, 20% of the board table vision, 10% of the ambassador presidents, and 70% comes down to mentoring and coaching and cheerleading governors, lieutenant governors, and club leaders to be a street level general, so to speak, to keep an eye on how things are proceeding in each district, division, and club, and cheerleading and motivating in that direction. So with that context, with those three elements of the role of serving as international president, I'd like to ask some questions of the candidates before us tonight. And we're going to start where Katrina was first in alphabetical order. We're going to start with George on this question to begin answering first. So George, what do you see as the most challenging aspect of serving as Kiwanis International President, and how would you overcome this challenge?
As Kiwanis International President?
Yes, sir. Let's go all the way, man.
Let's go all the way through. All right.
International Vice President becomes President-elect and becomes International President. So let's go for it.
I'm a big one job at a time guy, but since you asked, the biggest challenge the Kiwanis International President has is building an effective team, and that happens every year. You've got a new international president. You've got a fresh crop of governors. You've got a fresh crop, hopefully, of lieutenant governors. To assemble all of those folks into a cohesive team requires a certain force of personality. It requires some organizational skill, and really a lot of team building experience, knowledge, and know-how. I believe I have those traits. I've done that team building at multiple levels in Kiwanis. Certainly in the New England and Bermuda district, I was able to build a very effective team during my year as governor. As district secretary, I was able to build a very effective team of club secretaries in New England and Bermuda. And I think that same set of skills, that same know-how will be really of a help to me as Kiwanis International President.
Thanks, George. Chuck.
Thank you, Paul. And I can first say, may I contribute to a fundraiser so we don't sing happy birthday to Paul? So what do I see as the most challenging aspect of being Kiwanis International President? I would say, working with our team, but we really need to focus on the world. We have sometimes very focused, limited on our US-based Kiwanians. We need to learn. We need to work with ASPAC and Nepal and the Philippines in our growth throughout the world, because they are showing that they can do growth. When I was a governor, prior to governor-elect training or lieutenant governor-elect training, I took the time, along with Amelia, to go out and meet with our lieutenant governors. This was before the training. This was before we even knew each other. And we have 27 divisions in the Florida district. I took the time to meet with 21 of those lieutenant governors. And the first thing we sat down to, whether it be breakfast, lunch, dinner, or somewhere in between, let's not talk about Kiwanis. Let's talk about us and our relationship building. When's your anniversary? Who are your kids? Who are your pets? Let's learn who we are. And by doing so, we had the best year because they knew they could rely on me and I could rely on them. Now, I can't say I can do that with all the governors throughout the entire district in the world. But you know what? With Zoom and our ways of traveling nowadays in this manner, we certainly can, and I certainly will. I believe that as international president, we also have to look at our coming out of this pandemic, because we are in the US coming out of it, but is the world. As I mentioned in my opening speech, Uganda has seen a 25% spike in COVID. We need to work with our Kiwanians around the world. We need to work with our leadership, and we need to work with our SLPs, because we are seeing loss amongst the loss. We need to build them back up. And I think that is the important part. Thank you.
Thanks, Chuck. Mr. Richard.
Well, good afternoon or good evening. And President Paul, Happy birthday. I think the biggest challenge as KI president will be maintaining that 70% share that you've just talked about. I think getting everybody to understand that we all have a role in membership and our growth, and that we can't do our service without that, and that we need consistent and sustainable growth. You know, we can't be building 34 clubs and losing 99. And we got to do something about addressing retention along with growth, or as part of growth, because I think we're seeing right now. I mean, I just looked at the last report that one district has opened 15 clubs, but they've closed 39, and we never talk about that part of it. At the board, we need to talk about that, and we need to put in process and provide resource materials to help stem the loss. So I think, you know, George talked well about team building. I've had lots of experience building teams of very diverse engineers, and engineers always have their own way of doing things. An arrow doesn't talk to the propulsion, and vice versa. And you have to get them working together. As governor of Calneva, I met with all 47 divisions. I traveled a lot, and I planned as president of Kiwanis International to be out there with our members, if possible, when possible, to be where they are, to work with them in service projects, to show them that I'm as invested in this organization as they are. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. Barb.
Happy birthday, President Paul, and thank you. I agree with all three of my predecessor speakers. I agree that that it's a big challenge to build the team, that we spend a lot of time, we have to spend a lot of time focusing on the world and diversity within the world. And we need to focus on membership. And so that's what I think our hugest challenge is retaining and building our membership and growing our membership. And that's something that I really want to work on. 2 weeks ago, I was part of a club opening team in Illinois, Eastern Iowa. We built 4 clubs with 2 more to come. I think we have to do that. We have to retain. We definitely have to be the cheerleader and the coach and the guide to build new clubs, gain new members, because that's the basis of our service and our financial stability and our ability to survive as a viable organization. Thank you.
Thanks, Barb. Katrina.
Well, happy birthday. I don't want to be the only one that doesn't tell you that, Paul.
Thank you.
I think probably to me, one of the biggest challenges is because we are an international organization, is realizing, especially at the board table, that every situation's different, the countries are different, we have different laws. We just finished up the Amplify program. We weren't able to offer that to everyone because of the language barrier and the cost of trying to translate that. So I think one of the challenges is going to be to figure out ways to produce resources that fit each country or each individual districts. Everyone has a different way of opening clubs and of providing education. So I think that's a challenge. I am a team builder. And when I was in Georgia, or I still am in Georgia, I opened or started a membership team, and it has grown and it's been very successful. But I build teams, and I think I would work with the board by talking to other people. I listen to all sides and try to gather as much information and reasons as to why we need to look at something differently or maybe provide something differently. So I feel like I would be excellent at putting those teams together to try to address some of the challenges that we have because of the international differences. Thanks.
Thanks, Katrina. All right, we're going to start a new cycle of answers starting with Chuck. Chuck, what movie has inspired you the most over the years and why?
The movie that inspired me over the years, I would say, is Shrek, because you see different cultures, different backgrounds, and working together for the benefit of the princess and Shrek, and of course, Donkey. Of course, it probably helped that I played Shrek, not only at our international convention in Orlando about 10 years ago, give or take, but also to many kids around the world, not only in South Florida, but internationally. So certainly Shrek, Donkey, and the princess are my heart, because that is where the kids see things. So again, we have to think like a kid and think of our members in order to be in this position. So certainly Shrek, Paul. Thank you.
Thank you, Chuck. Richard.
Well, you caught me on a good one there, Paul. I don't watch a lot of movies, but I'll tell you, my favorite movie of all time is Top Gun. And as Chuck was talking, I had time to think about that. I think it's because Maverick was a Maverick, and he learned that he had to be a team member. And I learned that through my Navy career and through flying in the Navy, that you couldn't be a Maverick, and that you had to build that team, and you had to be part of the team in order for everybody to succeed. So every chance I get, I watch Top Gun. And Maverick lost a good friend, and partly because he was a Maverick. And so I don't want that to ever happen. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Richard. Barb.
I think that the most inspiring movie for me is an old movie, To Kill a Mockingbird, and possibly because I taught that novel a lot, but I thought it showed the goodness in human beings and how people help each other out, even when there are forces that are bad. And I think that that is kind of a metaphor for Kiwanis, because we help each other out. There are bad things happening, but we are a good force and can make good things happen and can help the children of the world. So To Kill a Mockingbird is my choice.
Thanks, Barb. Katrina, what movie has inspired you the most over the years and why?
Well, I'd have to say Steel Magnolias. I've watched it a million times, maybe because it's Southern, I don't know. But I just feel like that movie projects life as it is. They cried, they made us cry in that movie. They laughed. They had their differences, but in the end, they were all friends and they were all there to be for each other, no matter what they did. They had their bickering and sometimes they had to slap Louisa. But anyway, I just think to me, it was just made you realize that life is up and down. It is a lot of laughs and it is some crying, but again, in the end, and I feel like that's kind of how our Kiwanis family is. We do have our differences. We do have our ups and downs. We cry and we laugh, but in the end, we're all Kiwanians and we're all there on the mission to serve the children. So thanks.
Thank you, Katrina. And George, what movie has inspired you the most over the years and why?
I am not known for being sloppy sentimental, but I will tell you the movie that means the most to me is Jimmy Stewart's It's a Wonderful Life, which I've watched more times than I can count, because it so perfectly illustrates the idea that every one of us has an important role to play, not only in our own lives, but in the lives of so many others. And isn't that what Kiwanis is all about? We all do our little part. We do the things that we do, and I don't think we even realize how much impact we have on the lives around us as Kiwanians, as human beings, as people. So yeah, that's my all-time choice. I love the film, and I'll be watching it again next Christmas.
Excellent. Thanks, George. So now we're going to do like we did with the trustees. We're going to have short lightning questions with 60 seconds to answer, and picking one or the other of the two options that I posed to you. So Richard, we're going to start this round with you. Kentucky Fried Chicken, original or extra crispy?
Extra crispy.
Tell me why.
I just like to crunch.
Okay. Barb,
Original.
okay, why?
And I think the reason is because I grew up on a farm and it tastes most like the down home farm fried chicken.
Very nice. Katrina, Kentucky Fried Chicken, original or extra crispy?
I like extra crispy because I always want to look beyond the original and see if we can find a better, crispier way to do things.
All right. George, KFC original or extra crispy?
Original, mostly because my wife doesn't like extra crispy, so I don't buy that kind.
Excellent. And Chuck, original or extra crispy?
Extra crispy with a side of coleslaw because we have to do better than the original, so we have to always be extra. Thank you.
All right. Barb, you're up first on this next one. Jay Leno or David Letterman, and why?
Jay Leno, and I just thought he had a softer style of humor, and I appreciated that. I also liked all his cards.
Okay, excellent. Katrina, Jay Leno or David Letterman, and why?
Jay Leno, and I actually saw him in person at a Merle Norman convention, and he and our original owner were good friends because they were both huge car collectors. So I have to go with Jay Leno.
All right. George, David Letterman or Jay Leno, and why?
Got to go with Letterman. Letterman mastered the art of snark better than any stand-up guy I've ever seen, and I really appreciate the way he did that.
Okay. Chuck, Jay Leno or David Letterman, and why?
Jay Leno, and probably because when I was at Baskin-Robbins training, I owned a Baskin-Robbins store at one time in my life. We all love ice cream. Jay Leno came out to our training and did a little stand-up for the people who were out there as franchisees. So Jay Leno, definitely.
And Richard, Jay Leno or David Letterman, and why?
David Letterman, because his mother always came to our Kiwanis International conventions.
Very nice. I posed that one because both were at, of course, with David's mom and Jay. They were both with Kiwanis conventions a little bit. So interesting on memories in that regard. Katrina, phone calls or emails?
Oh, I like phone calls because I want to chat and go a little bit more in depth than an email. And sometimes emails are misunderstood. So I'm always about the phone call.
All right. George, phone calls or emails?
Phone calls, absolutely. And I'll echo Katrina. It's you get so much more clarity on any discussion when you're talking to somebody person to person.
Chuck, emails or phone calls?
Definitely phone calls because it's more personal. It's more about the relationship. But you know what? We need to do both, and we need to do what's best for the other person, not what's best for me. So if an email is better for you, Paul, then I will send you an email. If you prefer to pick up the phone or receive a text, then that's the way I would go.
Very good. Richard, phone calls or email?
Well, I agree with Chuck. I do either or. I do enjoy the phone call better because it is personal and you have the relationship. But sometimes a text is more efficient, and sometimes that's what you want.
Okay. And Barb, emails or phone calls?
Both. They both serve different purposes. If you have to get a lot of information out to a lot of people, that's good for an email. But for a personal relationship, then the phone calls are good. And also depending upon the wishes of the person that I'm contacting.
All right. So then we'll start with George on this next lightning question. And remember that I said that 70% of the role of international president involves motivating and cheerleading and moving forward with your team of governors, lieutenant governors, and club officers. So in that regard, the two options here are working with the governor to achieve achievable new club building goals or stretch new club building goals. Achievable new club building goals or stretch new club building goals that may not necessarily be achieved. George.
Frankly, I'm going to come down hard on the side of achievable goals. I've always, when I was working as a newspaper man, when I was working as a technology manager, when I was managing a team, It was always important to me to make sure that the goals were in fact attainable. There's nothing worse than setting a goal that you can't hit. So yeah, attainable all the way for me.
Thank you. Chuck, achievable new club building goals or stretch new club building goals?
I would also go with achievable because we have to work smart. We can always work hard. We can always work, our butts off, but you know what? We still have to work smart, and the acronym is SMART. So definitely achievable. But you know what? We have to also work with our governors to make sure that they achieve those goals and achieve the goals of Kiwanis International, because we are one family and we need to continue that growth. Thank you.
Chuck, thank you. Richard, achievable new club building goals or stretch new club building goals?
Achievable. I want to set people up for success, because success begets success. And if we're trying to do something that you're not going to attain, that just gives you bad feelings. So achievable.
Thank you, Richard. Barb, achievable new club building goals or stretch new club building goals?
I think stretched new building goals, because often when you have stretch goals, it's not, you didn't give the choice of unachievable stretch goals, you said stretch goals. Often when we set stretch goals, we find ourselves meeting them, and that will give us more achievement, more members. And remember the quote that says, a man's reach must exceed his grasp, or what's a heaven for? I think that applies here. Our reach needs to exceed our grasp, our immediate grasp, because the stretch goal may extend our grasp to reach it. And I also think he was talking about men and women.
Thanks, Barb. And Katrina, achievable new club building goals or stretch new club building goals?
Well, I think achievable, because I want them to not be overwhelmed. I want them to see that goal in sight. But with that said, I would certainly be the cheerleader to push them a little further across that goal. And once we got to the achievable goal, then we look for the stretch goal. But I definitely want that goal to be in their reach.
Thank you all on that. Chuck, this question starts with you. 2 former Circle K members want to build a new breakfast Kiwanis club because their community's existing Kiwanis club meets at lunch. The existing Kiwanis club refuses the opportunity for a new Kiwanis club because they fear membership loss and competition from that new club. The governor asks for your advice. As international president, what is your direction?
Is this a 1 minute or 2 minutes, sir?
2, back to normal.
Thank you, Paul. So if that was my predicament, and quite frankly, it has been in prior years. And what I think we need to do is bring those 2 leaders together, the president of the Kiwanis club that is existing, and the 2 CKI members who want to open up that breakfast meeting that the existing lunch meeting club is not having. They need to come together and work together, because as Kiwanians, we should be working with all of our clubs and all of our divisions. Lieutenant Governor should be providing that opportunity for service, but we should be doing that service together, not apart. We are not individuals in Kiwanis. We are a family. So again, I believe that governor, through his lieutenant governor or her lieutenant governor, and or directly, should work with those 2 leaders to bring those Kiwanis to that community. The other option, of course, would be to do a satellite club in that community to start that new club and expand on the club. And I've seen the greats of a satellite club doing great things. We have one here in our club that is on our military base. They cannot come out to lunch, but they do a lot of service. And they also have a spot on our board. So again, I think working together is the way we need to achieve. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you, Chuck. Hey, Richard, 2 former Circle K members want to build a new breakfast Kiwanis club because their community's existing Kiwanis club meets at lunch. The existing Kiwanis club refuses the opportunity for a new Kiwanis club because they fear membership loss and competition. Your team's district governor for that year contacts you for advice and direction. What's your input?
I'd say continue. And I would talk to the governor about a personal experience that I had. I would swear you were in Burbank, California when you wrote that question, Paul, because we had that exact situation. The Burbank Noon Club of 100 members when I was president there was afraid that a morning club would steal our members. But what we looked at was who's not making lunch. And we had members of that lunch club that worked downtown LA that just couldn't be at lunch. And you know what? They said, yeah, I'd love to do breakfast and then go to work. And so we took those members from that club and they were the seed members for the new club. That's how we get it done. As Chuck just said, you're working together, but you find that you have people in that lunch club that will be much better off in a morning club. And that's where we get our seed members, and that's where we get our SLP members. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. Barb, 2 former Circle K members want to build a new breakfast Kiwanis club because their community's existing Kiwanis club meets at lunch. The existing club refuses the opportunity for a new Kiwanis club because they fear membership loss and competition. Your team that year's district governor contacts you for advice and direction. What do you suggest? And I think, Barb, you're muted.
That also has happened to me many times or several times. Not exactly the same players, but I would advise him to work with the lieutenant governor and also to practice our listening skills and talk to both groups about what they foresee, what they wish to happen, and then get them together. I have also worked through this by asking the existing club to serve as coaches to the new club. Well, what do you think about this? If they wanted something that you don't want, if they want meetings that are not like the meetings that you want, and your meetings are very important to you, but we would need your expertise. And so lots of conversation, lots of listening, and I think that it can all work out.
Thanks, Barb. Katrina, 2 former Circle K members want to build a breakfast Kiwanis club. The existing club says no thank you because they fear membership loss and competition. The district governor on your team needs your advice. What's your thoughts?
Well, I would definitely have them talk to each group individually and then bring them together to talk and communicate, because if they kind of talk individually and they'll be a little more open. And once you have that information, then I would definitely bring the leaders of those 2 groups together and talk about what were some options. Is a satellite, or do we need a breakfast club? But also, I think it's important to emphasize to them that, you know, we need as many Kiwanians in a community as possible. And so let's work together so that we can have more hands and more service in this community, because we are all about Kiwanis and we're all about serving the children. So let's not fight each other over members. Let's put that member, we need to decide to put members in a club where they're going to stay and where they're going to be happy, as opposed to just holding on to a member because we need them in our club. So I would definitely encourage them to have that type of open dialogue and come to a consensus of what would be best to serve that community.
Thanks, Katrina. And George, you know, the 2 former Circle K members want to build a breakfast club because their community's existing Kiwanis club meets at lunch. They don't want it. Governor calls you. What's your thoughts?
I think my fellow candidates have covered this like a blanket, but I'll say this. I've seen this very situation in different communities. I've seen it go well, and I've seen it go very, very badly. In the situations where it went very, very badly, there was a failure to reach a consensus between the people trying to open the new club and those who are members of the old club. They viewed it as a competition. They viewed it as that they were going after the same pool of members. I don't think that's necessarily the case. I think the satellite club suggestion is excellent, but I think it really is important to get the folks trying to start the new club to sit down with the folks with the old club and come to a consensus as to just what pool of members each of them is going after. It seems to me that the members that a couple of former Circle K members are going to chase are probably not the people who are going to be going to a luncheon club. They're very different demographically. And I think once there's a recognition of that different membership pool, now you have the opportunity to have a club building experience where both clubs benefit, where the younger members will gravitate toward that Circle K started club, and the traditional members can be brought in to the existing club. Everyone wins.
Thanks, George. Next question is a repeat from the trustee forum, but I think it's pretty important to get your input on that as a potential international president from each of you. So here it is. There's a declining awareness in the benefits of attending international and district conventions. What strategy would you suggest that would increase the awareness of attendance benefits and ultimately attendance? Richard.
Thank you, Paul. I noticed you didn't say what kind of attendance. So I'm going to say there's a hybrid attendance. I think what we're finding is that I saw the ASPAC convention. They had over 2,900 attendees. Some obviously had gathered together in satellite groups, but and so they did have some in person. But the hybrid helped a lot. I'm not a fan of hybrid. I like coming and hugging Katrina and having a good time with Kiwanis members. But I think there's a lot of people that we've got to get past the expense, because it's not convention that's the big part of it. It's the travel normally, the airfare and the hotels. So we need to be able to get around that and make them aware that there's a lot of good stuff to learn, even if it's online, and that we need their participation as members of this organization. I know that probably might be the death toll of in-person conventions if we don't have enough people, but we downsize them. We don't need the footprint that we used to have if we're not going to have the people there. And those of us that want to come and hug each other can do so, and we can get everybody else their training and their information online.
Thank you, Richard. Barb, there's a declining awareness of the benefits of attending international and district conventions. What strategy would you suggest that would increase the awareness of attendance benefits and thus attendance? Barb?
Well, thank you. I think that we need to ask questions. We need to find out from the people not coming if they even know about the conventions and what they would like to see and what would make it more appealing to them to attend. And then we need to rework the district and the international conventions to implement those changes. On the district level, my own district is trying that right now, knowing that we're just coming out of the pandemic, and how can we change to be better meeting the needs of our constituents. Also, cost is a factor, and I'm wondering about ways to help pay people's expenses. I don't know what they would be. I know that there's been a change that the expenses can come partially from the service funds, so that might help. But I think funding and what do you want to see? What do you want to learn? Those are the two things that I would focus on.
Thanks, Barb. Katrina, there's a declining awareness to the benefits of attending international and district conventions. What strategy, as international president and serving in the roles prior to that, would you suggest that would increase the awareness of attendance benefits and thus attendance?
Well, the surveys that KI have done says that most people come, well, of course, for the camaraderie and the friendship and the hugs, Dick, waiting for that. But that they come for the educational piece. So I think it's important that we look to see what they're looking for in that educational piece. But and again, with expense, it is something that we need to look at and address and figure out a way to kind of reduce the cost of attending. But the other thing is, I think that we need to encourage our clubs, number one, to figure out ways to help pay their members to go to these conventions. And secondly, for the existing members, the mentors, to start mentoring the new people, because I can tell you, when I first joined my club, they drugged me screaming to trainings. And I'm so glad they did, because that's where you see the bigger picture. That's where you see that, oh, this is more than just my club. This is just more than my district. And especially when they go to international. And I think there are a lot of people that get Kiwanis in their blood when they do attend these conventions and see that it is a bigger picture. So I think that we just need to look at ways to get clubs to know that that's important, that the training is important, and that getting the bigger picture is important to their members to give that value.
Thanks, Katrina. George, declining awareness of the benefits of attending international and district. You got any strategies that would suggest that they would increase the awareness of attendance benefits and thus attendance?
Boy, I wish I was smart enough to have a solution to this problem, and I'm not, and I don't. What I do know is that in my experience, anyone who attends an international convention and goes through that educational experience wants to do it again. Having sampled the potato chips once, they want another bag. So it's incumbent on us as an organization to find a way to reach out and grab that first time attendee. Katrina hit on something pretty key. We need to help our clubs find ways to finance these things. I know when I first joined Kiwanis back in 1979, I belonged to a very large Kiwanis club, a big urban club, Springfield, Massachusetts, that at the time had 200 members and charged, frankly, ridiculously high dues. But that meant the club had enough money in the coffers to send the incoming president and one of the vice presidents to the Kiwanis International Convention every year. Our clubs these days tend to be much smaller, and they're not taking in that kind of money. So we need to find another way. I know I never miss an international convention because I don't expect I will while I am drawing breath, because the experience is so great. So we need to strategize. Frankly, we need to find a way to reach down to the clubs and convince clubs that it's important to get an officer or two to the international convention every year just for training, just to find out what's going on in the larger Kiwanis world and to bring the benefits of that back home. Best I can do right now.
Thanks, George. And Chuck, declining awareness and the benefits of attending international and district conventions. What strategy would you suggest that would increase the awareness of attendance benefits and thus attendance?
Thank you, Paul. I might have to get my pom-poms out for this one. But I agree too, having just attended ASPAC and also KIEF, which is now KIE, by the way. Their virtual conventions were perfect. They provided an option for those who cannot attend to be able to attend. Of course, most of it was not in person. But I also think we have to put fun into our conventions. We need to do other classes in a series, maybe a cooking class or whatever somebody wants to do to have fun, wine tasting, whatever. It's a different way of learning, not just through Kiwanis. We have to learn about each other and our relationships. I love the virtual component included in our convention this year. I just wish it was maybe promoted a little bit better. And we've gotten, I don't think we really got a lot of people to attend virtually from outside the US. Also, another aspect I think that our district has done and has done a pretty good job about is doing zone conferences for our mid-year. So instead of doing one big conference and trying to draw everybody in, we've done 5 zones around the Florida district to allow people less travel time. They might be able to get, 1 hotel night versus 3, et cetera, and we were able to include the entire educational package into those zone conferences. We also had fun by doing our mid-year on a cruise ship. So instead of, a normal standard, we went on a cruise ship and had fun, but also had Kiwanis leadership and understanding and education during that cruise. And we've done 2 of those in the past 3 years. Of course, last year we had to cancel because of COVID. But I think those different ways of bringing in different aspects to both ICON and DCON would be very effective to our organization and to stop losing the funds that we're losing on the international convention right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Chuck. The final round of questions, ladies and gentlemen, and we'll start with Barb. The Kiwanis family is our diamond of service. And when I refer to the Kiwanis family, I'm talking about our partner organizations of Kiwanis Kids Clubs, Builders Clubs, Key Clubs, Circle K Clubs, Action Clubs, and Kiwanis Junior in Europe. So the Kiwanis family is our diamond of service. as president, what strategies would you use to help clubs understand the need to fulfill their responsibilities of sponsorship for their Kiwanis family club? So as president, what strategies would you use to help clubs understand the need to fulfill their responsibilities of sponsorship? Barb?
Well, thank you, President Paul. I don't know the answer to that, but I have thought about it, that we need to make sure that our Kiwanis clubs are fulfilling their responsibilities. And I think that the answer is education, partly because I was an educator, so the answer to everything is education. But a lot of clubs don't realize that list of 10 things that they're supposed to do. They are in the happy situation of having an old key club that has sustained itself for a while, but now possibly needs help. So we need education so that they know what they're supposed to do, and then support for them to do that. And the lieutenant governors have such big jobs, but I'm wondering if that could not be a partnership of the Kiwanis lieutenant governor and the Key Club or Circle K lieutenant governors to help with that. But it's just some education we need to do, because Kiwanians want to do the right thing. They just aren't aware.
Thanks, Barb. Katrina, the Kiwanis family is our diamond of service. As president, what strategies would you use to help clubs understand the need to fulfill their responsibilities of sponsorship?
I think it is a matter of getting back to our clubs and letting them know what their responsibility is, other than just money. But I think the other part is maybe not just the list of 10, but, to give them some reasons. When I was counselor for the CKI International Board, we talked a lot about trying to get the sponsoring clubs back involved with the CKI. And so I said, well, have y'all reached out to them? They're like, well, we're scared to. I said, you know what? They're scared to reach out to you too. So we need to figure out a way that we can kind of find some common ground for clubs and CKI and our key clubbers and the rest. One of the things we talked about a lot was mentoring. And I just think that it would be a great thing. I mean, if you're a CPA or you have a manager, then to pair that up. I mean, college kids are looking for mentors. They're looking for resources. They're looking for internships, and what better providers than the Kiwanians to pair up with them. So I just feel like we are kind of missing. And also we have some older clubs that are not able to have enough people at a pancake to event. Bring your Circle K's in, bring your key clubs, bring your other groups in. So I just think we're not using them enough. And I think it's going to have to go back to, we need to start encouraging clubs to look at their job as a sponsoring club.
Thanks, Katrina. George, as you know, the Kiwanis family is our diamond of service. As international president, and since strategies has been difficult for me to pronounce, as international president, what leadership hints would you use to help clubs understand the need to fulfill their responsibilities of sponsorship?
It's hard. It's sometimes hard to get information to filter all the way down to the club level from that top level of Kiwanis International. But my personal experience as an advisor to a K Kids and a Builders Club and a Key Club and a Circle K, and that's just this year. Kiwanis clubs need to understand, and they need to be made to understand, that it's to their benefit to have a good working relationship with their SLP programs. An SLP, one of those clubs, is not something you just, you send off into the world and hope it does well. It's something you need to nurture, you need to partner with, you need to work with those young people every inch of the way, because that's the way you're going to get them to be Kiwanians someday. Every Kiwanis club that has that kind of a relationship with their SLPs benefits from the relationship. They get more hands for service. They get fresh, new ideas from young minds. They get eager children who want to learn to do wonderful things in their own communities. I think we don't do a sufficient job of making our clubs, especially our older clubs, aware of the wonderful benefits that are to be had just by reaching out and developing those personal relationships with our SLP kids. It's something I've really tried to do, and I would hope as international president that I could carry that message around the Kiwanis world.
George, thank you. Chuck, the Kiwanis family is our diamond of service. As international president, what leadership hints would you use to help local clubs understand the need to fulfill their responsibilities of sponsorship?
Thank you, Paul. Education and communication. We have to start by inviting them. We have to start, though, inviting the CKI president and the Key Club president to attend our board meetings at Kiwanis International and go to their board meetings. We have to develop that relationship. What are we hiding? What's not transparent? We need to have transparency through this organization. As governor, we made sure that 12 Key Clubbers and 8 CKI members were at our district convention because we wanted them there. We made sure that they were invited to the dinners because in the prior years, they were invited to come, but given pizza or other types of food, other types of less expensive food, let's put it that way. We made sure, even if it came out of my own pocket, we made sure that those 12 Key Clubbers and 8 CKI members were at our district convention because we cared about them. We need to listen to our K family. When I was lieutenant governor many years ago, I made sure that all 3 or 4 of our lieutenant governors in our division were invited to every DCM, and I went to every one of their DCMs as well, because we had that relationship, we had that bond. So again, education and communication starting at the top, but where is the top really? It's the club. Thank you.
Thanks, Chuck. And Richard, the Kiwanis family is our diamond of service. As international president, what leadership hints would you use to help local clubs understand the need to fulfill their responsibilities of sponsorship?
Communication, communication, communication. To form relationships. I've talked to way too many Key Club members have no idea who their Kiwanis club is. So I need to get the clubs to understand that. And we do that by communicating. We do that by showing them that the relationships that they make with these students will make Kiwanians out of them in the future. Using them for cheap labor doesn't make them committed to the family. And we need to make that known to people. This will be part of my 70%, Paul. I'll be out there as the biggest cheerleader you can find for Key Club and Circle K. As the board counselor to Key Club a couple years ago, I worked very closely with that board. And communication goes both ways, and they realize that. And so, it's not going to change overnight. We need to get started on it. We need to start building up. And I think as the clubs see that it's a relationship with these students that'll bring them into Kiwanis when the time is right, I think that they'll find that they'll start reaching out. But I also, I'll be missing my meeting next week because we have a candidates meeting with Stan. But we have a Key Club taking over our meeting. And President Ritchie, she ran it a couple months ago and was scared to death. She's looking forward to next week. And that's how we keep these kids and students involved and interested in becoming a member of Kiwanis. I'll do that. I go to 4 Key Club meetings a week as their advisor. I go to a Builders Club meeting every week as their advisor. These students are our future, and I'm invested in them. And I'll make sure that I get that message across to all of our Kiwanis members.
Thanks, Richard. Now we're back into the opportunity to begin at the top of the alphabet and go through our closing statements. 1 minute. We'll start with, in alphabetical order, Katrina.
Well, as a current trustee, I have been part of the board decision-making as we have had to adjust and pivot and adopt to this new world we're living in. My knowledge and understanding of that, combined with my leadership experience in other professional organizations, my business experience as an owner, a former educator, provides me with the skill sets to lead Kiwanis through this post-pandemic time. I am a leader that listens to all sides, and I communicate and I am a team builder and I am a leader that sets goals and plans strategies. So I am ready and I am prepared to serve you as your vice president. Thank you.
Thank you, Katrina. George?
There is not one candidate running for this office who isn't absolutely qualified. So I'm not going to go on about qualifications. All of us are dedicated Kiwanians. All of us are experienced. All of us have extensive experience and extensive skill sets. What I believe sets me apart. Well, I'm not even going to say it sets me apart. The reason I'm running for this job is because of my love of Kiwanis, because of my love of what we do, because of my conviction that I can use my skills and my experience to carry Kiwanis forward into a more technological world. And that's where we are on our way to. I would appreciate having that opportunity. All of my fellow candidates would appreciate it as well. I just hope that I'll be given the chance. And thank you.
Thank you, George. Chuck, for your closing.
I'd like to thank the Michigan District of Kiwanis. I would also like to thank Sue for hosting, but also having the foresight along with her district leadership in setting up Let's Talk since I believe around May of 2020. Paul, thank you for hosting as well. And we will be making a $55 donation to the Kiwanis Children Fund on your behalf, along with nobody singing tonight. Kelly Elmore said, "Love is the castle, doubt is the moat, desire is the paddle, and hope is the boat." Let's get those kids across the river and across the moat in a boat to get to the castle. Most importantly, thank you to all the members who are attending tonight, because you are the most important person and aspect of Kiwanis. Please never let anyone ever tell you differently. God bless. Thank you.
Thanks, Chuck. Richard, your closing.
Thank you, Paul, and thank you, Sue, and thank you to all the members that joined this evening. I'm going to tell you, I will not accept losing 50% of our new members within their first 5 years. I will not accept losing 30% of our clubs within their first 5 years. We must do something to stop that. I will work with President Art, President-elect Peter, Vice President Burt, and we'll set a course to change this carrier. We'll soar to greater heights. It'll take us a while to turn that ship around, but we will do it because we got to stop accepting it. Thank you all very much for your time and your commitment to Kiwanis and to your communities and to the children of the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. And Barb, your closing statement.
Yes, well, we are coming out of a pandemic, but we are Kiwanians and we have a legacy. We were born during World War I. We've survived and served through 2 world wars, the Spanish flu, the Depression, even our own social flaws. But we stand on the shoulders of giants, many of whom are on this Zoom call. Kids need Kiwanis. Where the work happens is at the club level. And I look forward to the future that we can build together. I will appreciate your supporting me for Kiwanis International Vice President so that we can build a future to be here when the kids need us and we have the privilege of serving them. I thank you all for attending. Thank you, President Paul and President Sue, for facilitating. Thank you, Michigan District, for sponsoring this. And I wish us all a bright and happy future where we can continue serving the children of the world.
Thank you, Barb. And that wraps up the official part of tonight. Thanks to all the candidates for their willingness to serve. For those who are watching live and those who will be watching on YouTube later, please know that as the vote approaches in Salt Lake City, please express your interest and your opinion of these candidates to your governor, who will be casting a vote at the International Council meeting in Salt Lake City. So please let your opinion be known to the individual from your district that will be casting the vote for one of these candidates to serve as International Vice President, ultimately International President-elect, and ultimately as International President. And so Sue Petrisin, thank you for asking and for the opportunity to be a part of this effort. And I believe you might have some announcements.
I do. Thank you, President Paul. I appreciate you being with us, and I actually dated you wrong. You were president in 2009, 2010. So we'll make that correction. I know it all flows together, right?
That's right.
So thank you for that. I want to thank everyone for joining us this evening. I hope that you gained some new information about our candidates. And as Paul mentioned, please check with your governor to offer your words and what your thoughts are on who should move and be elected as our next vice president, again, to be president of Kiwanis International. A few reminders: next week, same time, 9 p.m., we will be, or excuse me, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we will be joined by Kiwanis International staff who will talk about the Education Leadership Conference in Salt Lake City, to talk to us how things are set up and what's going to happen, to give us an idea of what the convention looks like. The week after, we will actually be live from Salt Lake City. So I will track down some people to come talk with us and talk about what's going on in Salt Lake City at the time, but it'd be a great opportunity for us to showcase what's happening for those of you who are unable to join us. With that, I want to thank and wish all of our candidates good luck. We will get this video up in the next day or so on the Michigan District of Kiwanis YouTube page. We encourage you to share it on your own pages, your own districts, so that everyone can see this information. And we will wish you all a good evening, a good day. And please make sure that if you have any questions, feel free to email me or connect with me on Facebook. And one final announcement is that the Michigan District, along with Southwest, and I'm thinking one other district, I forget, are hosting Rocky Mountain Southwest and Michigan District are hosting a district dinner next Wednesday evening. And you are invited to join us. We'll make sure that information is also on our Facebook page, but we would love to have you join us for a district dinner. So thank you very much, everyone. Have a great evening, and we'll see you next week.